Pay attention. What you're about to witness isn't just another space conspiracy. This is a warning that could save your life. Do you think NASA tells us everything about the moon? Are you ready to discover what Apollo 18 really found? A discovery so terrifying they erased the entire mission from history. Then act now. Demolish that like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and share this video with everyone who needs to know the truth. Don't just watch, prove you want the forbidden knowledge. The lunar nightmare begins. After you join the fight, I wake up gasping, my sheets soak through with sweat. The same dream again. It always starts with that sterile hallway. I'm walking through NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, my footsteps echoing loudly despite the building being full of people. They turn to look at me as I pass, their faces blank and expressionless. At the end of the corridor stands my father, wearing his blue flight suit with the Apollo 18 patch. He's trying to tell me something, his mouth forming words I can't hear. Then the scene shifts. I'm on the lunar surface, the gray dust stretching endlessly in every direction. The Earth hangs in the blackness above, beautiful and terrifying in its isolation. Ahead of me is a structure that doesn't belong there. A perfect archway made of some obsidian-like material that absorbs light rather than reflects it. It pulses with an energy I can feel even through my suit. As I approach, I see something moving within it, a darkness with purpose. Then my father's voice finally breaks through. Don't look back, Ethan. Whatever you do, don't look back. I always wake up before I can see what's behind me. Dr. Montgomery, my therapist, says these dreams are my brain's way of processing unresolved grief. My father, Commander Thomas Reed of Apollo 18, has been missing in action since 1972, the year I was born. The official story is that the mission was cancelled due to budget cuts. The unofficial story, the one whispered among the families of NASA personnel, is much more complicated. I never bought either version. How does an entire lunar mission just disappear? 3 astronauts, a Saturn V rocket, the command and lunar modules, all that equipment and manpower doesn't just vanish, but NASA had their story and they stuck to it for 30 years. Until last week, when I received a package that changed everything. It came in a standard FedEx envelope, no return address. Inside was a worn leather notebook with my father's initials embossed on the cover and a key card for a storage facility in Clear Lake, just outside Houston. The notebook contained only one entry, dated July 17th, 1972. They're sending us up there knowing what we'll find. Anderson says it's our duty, that what's at stake is bigger than any single mission, but he didn't see what I saw in the reconnaissance photos. God help us if we bring something back. The storage unit contained a single cardboard box. Inside was an old reel-to-reel tape recorder and several unlabeled tapes, along with a sealed envelope addressed to me in my father's handwriting. The letter inside was brief. Ethan, if you're reading this, then things have gone the way I feared. Listen to the tapes. Follow the rules. Don't trust NASA. And whatever you do, don't look directly at the moon between midnight and 3 a.m. Dad. I played the first tape that same night. It started with static. Then my father's voice came through. Steady, but tense. This is Commander Thomas Reed, Apollo 18 mission. Date is August 9th, 1972. If anyone finds these recordings, they need to be delivered to my son, Ethan Reed. What follows are the rules of Lunar Command. Breaking them means death, or worse. There was a pause, and I could hear him take a deep breath before continuing. Rule number 1. Never look directly at the lunar surface between local midnight and 3 a.m. without proper protection. Rule number 2. If you hear tapping from outside your module or habitat, do not respond, regardless of whose voice accompanies it. Rule number 3. Count your shadows at all times. If the number doesn't match the light sources, evacuate the area immediately. Rule number 4. Any equipment that disappears will return. Do not use returned equipment under any circumstances. Rule number 5, maintain radio silence during lunar eclipses. Rule number 6, if you see another crew member outside when all personnel are accounted for, do not acknowledge them or let them in. Rule number 7, Earth should always appear blue. If it appears any other color, you are not where you think you are. The tape ended there. 7 rules that made no goddamn sense yet chilled me to the bone. Why would my father record these? What happened on the moon? I've spent the past week listening to the remaining tapes and piecing together what happened during those days in 1972. What I've discovered is that NASA didn't just find something on the moon. They found a way to somewhere else, and my father was sent to investigate. Tonight, I'll begin the process of following my father's trail. I've taken leave from my job at JPL and flown to Houston. I've booked a room at the same motel where he stayed before the launch. And I've brought his notebook, the tapes, and the strange device I found at the bottom of the box. Something that looks like a compass, but doesn't point north. It points up. The Astro Inn looks exactly like it does in the old Polaroid I found tucked in my father's notebook. A single-story motel with peeling paint and a neon sign missing the R in Astro. According to the date on the back of the photo, he stayed here the week before launch. Room 18, of course. The elderly clerk barely looks up from his newspaper when I check in. Read, that's right, 3 nights. He slides me a physical key, not a key card, attached to a plastic rocket-shaped fob. Room 18, end of the hall. I freeze. I didn't request a specific room. He finally looks up, roomy eyes narrowing, says, "Here you did, special request." But I didn't. Someone else made sure I'd stay in the same room as my father. The room smells of old cigarettes and cheap air freshener. 2 queen beds with faded comforters, a TV that probably still has dials, and wallpaper featuring cartoonish stars and planets. I drop my duffel on the bed farthest from the door, same as my father in the Polaroid, and set up the tape player on the small desk by the window. The second tape is labeled only with the number 2 in my father's handwriting. It begins with the same static before his voice emerges. August 10th, 1972. I'm recording this in the crew quarters at Kennedy. Launch is in 3 days. Anderson called me into his office today. He showed me the real reconnaissance photos, not the sanitized versions we've been training with. The lunar surface near Capernacus Crater has changed. There's a structure there, something that wasn't captured in any previous missions. It looks like an arch or doorway, standing perfectly vertical on the regolith. Anderson says it appeared sometime between Apollo 17's last orbital pass and our recon satellite 3 months ago. My father's voice drops to nearly a whisper. The Russians have seen it too. That's why we're racing up there. Anderson thinks it might be them doing some kind of psychological warfare installation, but I've seen the measurements. That thing is over 30 FT tall and made of material unlike anything we've catalogued. No seams, no signs of construction, just there. I pause the tape as headlights sweep across the window. It's nearly midnight. I draw the curtains and continue listening. I confronted Dr. Winters about the anomalous readings from the spectrograph. He admitted they've been detecting strange radiation patterns from the site for months. Not harmful, he says, but different, like nothing in our physics textbooks. He's the one who gave me these rules. Says they compiled them from various sources, the Russians, our own unmanned probes, and something he called theoretical extrapolations. I don't like being kept in the dark. The tape cuts to static, then continues with what sounds like my father moving around a room. Something strange happened tonight. I was reviewing the lunar charts when all the lights in the building went out. Emergency power kicked in after a few seconds, but during those moments of darkness, I swear, I saw something moving outside my window. We're on the 3rd floor. Nothing should be moving out there. When I looked closer, there was a handprint on the glass. From the outside. I've requested additional security, but Anderson says I'm just experiencing pre-launch jitters. I get up and check my own window, running my fingers along the glass. It's intact, but something about the darkness outside feels wrong, like it's watching me. My phone rings, startling me so badly I knock over my coffee. Unknown number. Hello? I answer. Silence, then a strange rhythmic tapping sound. 3 quick taps, pause, 3 more. Who is this? I demand. The tapping stops. Then a voice, distorted and distant but unmistakably familiar, says my name. It sounds like my father. Dad? My heart pounds painfully against my ribs. Don't trust the reflections. The voice is breaking up, like a bad connection. Remember Rule 1. Rule 1. Never look directly at the lunar surface between midnight and 3:00 a.m. I glance at the digital clock. 11:58 p.m. The line goes dead. I try calling back, but get an automated message saying the number doesn't exist. Moonlight starts to spill through a gap in the curtains as the cloud cover breaks. Almost midnight. I grab a hand towel from the bathroom and tape it over the gap, blocking any direct view of the moon. Just as I finish, someone knocks on my door. 3 quick raps, pause, 3 more. The exact pattern from the phone call. Who is it? I call, not moving toward the door. Management, comes the reply in a flat voice. Need to check your air conditioning at midnight. No way. It's fine, I reply. Come back tomorrow. Silence, then. Ethan, son, is that you? It's me. I need your help. A perfect impression of my father's voice, the same one from the phone. The doorknob turns slowly, testing the lock. I back away, grabbing my father's compass-like device from my bag. The needle is spinning wildly, not pointing up anymore, but rotating in complete circles. You're not my father, I say, voice steadier than I feel. Another silence. Then a sound I can only describe as wet, like someone dragging something heavy and damp across the ground. It moves away from my door, down the hall. I wait 5 minutes before peering through the peephole. The hallway is empty, but there's something on the ground outside my door. A small puddle of grey liquid that reflects the ceiling lights in impossible ways, like a mirror pointed at the wrong angle of reality. I don't sleep. That night, I sit on the bed with my back against the headboard, the tape player on my lap, listening to my father's voice describe the preparations for a mission that officially never happened. At exactly 3:01 a.m., my phone chimes with a text message. It's from another unknown number and contains only 4 words. Tomorrow, NASA, basement level. The moon has vanished behind clouds again. I remove the towel from the window and look outside. The parking lot is mostly empty except for my rental car and an old blue pickup truck. Standing beside the truck is a figure in what looks like a vintage NASA jumpsuit. They're too far away to make out clearly, but they're looking directly at my window. They raise their hand in a slow wave, then get into the truck and drive away. Tomorrow I go to NASA. Apparently someone there is expecting me. Getting into NASA's Johnson Space Center is surprisingly easy when you have level 5 clearance from JPL. I flash my badge at security, citing interagency. Consultation work. The guard barely glances at it before waving me through. My father's compass device, which I've slipped into my pocket, grows warm against my thigh as I pass the main entrance. I've been to JSC before for work, but I've never ventured below the main floors. According to the building directory, there are only 2 basement levels, B1 for maintenance and B2 for archives. Nothing suspicious there, but the text message mentioned a basement level without specifying which one. I decide to start with B2. The archives might hold records about Apollo 18. The elevator requires a key card for basement access, but mine works fine. The doors slide open to reveal a sterile hallway lined with frosted glass doors, each labeled with a section and year range. I walk slowly, scanning for anything related to the Apollo missions. "Can I help you?" I nearly jump out of my skin. An older man with a military-style buzz cut stands behind me, wearing a maintenance uniform. His name tag reads Webb. "I'm looking for Apollo mission archives," I say, trying to sound casual. "Specifically 1972. His expression doesn't change, but something in his eyes shifts. Recognition, maybe, or wariness. "Apollo archives are in Section 7, end of the hall, left at the junction." He doesn't move. "Thanks." I walk past him, feeling his eyes on my back. Section 7 is locked. My key card doesn't work on this door. As I stand there contemplating my next move, Webb appears again, this time from around the corner I hadn't reached yet. "Special clearance for Apollo," he says flatly, swiping his own card. The door unlocks with a soft click. 15 minutes, that's all they allow at a time. Radiation concerns. Before I can ask what he means by radiation, he's walking away. I enter the room, and the door locks automatically behind me. The archive room is smaller than I expected, with only 3 terminals and a few filing cabinets. The air has a metallic taste, and the fluorescent lights buzz. Overhead, I sit at the nearest terminal and log in with my JPL credentials. Searching for Apollo 18 yields nothing. Not surprising, I try Capernacus Crater 1972 instead. A single file appears, Lunar Anomalous Phenomena C-Class 1972. It requires additional clearance. On a hunch, I pull out my father's compass device and place it on the scanner next to the keyboard. The screen flickers, then displays Read T Authorization Accepted. The file opens, revealing dozens of photographs of the lunar surface focused on an area near Capernacus Crater. The first several show nothing unusual, just the typical lunar landscape of dust and rocks. Then, abruptly, something appears. Just as my father described, a perfect archway standing on the regolith, estimated at 30 ft tall. It appears to be made of a smooth black material that absorbs light. Subsequent photos show the structure from different angles. In one, there appears to be movement captured, a blur where the center of the arch should be. The file notes call it photographic anomaly, but it looks deliberate, like something passing through. The final pages of the file contain transcripts of communications from an unnamed mission. The astronauts' names are redacted, but I recognize my father's speech patterns in one of them. Redacted. "Houston, we're approaching the structure now. Confirm you're receiving our video feed." Houston. Affirmative. "Proceed with caution. Remember protocol." Redacted. Roger that. Structure appears stable. No signs of weight. Houston. What is it? We're not seeing anything unusual. Redacted. There's something inside the arch. A kind of shimmer, like heat waves, but more structured. Redacted. Houston, I'm getting bizarre readings on the spectrograph. Nothing in our reference charts matches this. Houston. Hold position. Do not approach further. Redacted. Houston, you need to see this. It's opening. The transcript ends there. The rest of the file is blocked, with a large red classified stellar wind stamp across it. A timer in the corner of the screen shows I have 5 minutes left. I quickly search for stellar wind and find nothing. Then I try Lunar Command and hit Pay Dirt, a small personnel file dated 1973. It mentions the creation of a new division called Lunar Command, established to monitor extraspatial anomalies discovered during Apollo missions. Only 3 people are listed as personnel: Dr. James Winters, Dr. Alan Nichols, and 1 civilian consultant named Robert Webb, the maintenance man who let me in. The timer hits 0, and the screen goes black. The door behind me unlocks with a click, but I don't move yet. Instead, I pull out the 3rd tape from my bag and insert it into my father's portable player. August 13th, 1972, launch day. Something's wrong. Winters pulled me aside during the final medical check. He gave me a device. Looks like a compass, but the needle points to something else. He said if the needle ever spins continuously, I'm in the presence of what he called a threshold bleeder, something that's crossed over from the other side and hasn't fully materialized. The rules are apparently protection against these entities. I asked him what the hell we're really doing up there. He just said reconnaissance officially, containment actually. The tape hisses for a moment before continuing. The mission parameters have changed 3 times in the last 12 hours. We're now instructed to collect samples from the anomaly and, if possible, secure photographic evidence of what's on the other side. Anderson gave us modified cameras with specialized filters. Winters slipped me a note with an 8th rule that wasn't on the official list. If you see yourself, run. I shut off the tape as footsteps approach. The door opens and Webb stands there, his expression grim. "Time's up," he says. "Find what you were looking for?" I stand slowly. "Part of it. You're Robert Webb, aren't you? From Lunar." "Command." He doesn't confirm or deny it, but his jaw tightens slightly. "You shouldn't be digging into this, Reed. Some things should stay buried." "My father didn't stay buried," I counter, "and I think you know why." Webb glances around before lowering his voice. "Not here, there are cameras." He hands me a slip of paper. "Clear Lake Observatory, 11 p.m. Come alone." I pocket the paper and follow him out. As we reach the main hallway, he suddenly stops. "One more thing. There's a new rule we discovered after your father's mission." His voice is barely audible. "Rule number 8. If electronic equipment activates without power, destroy it immediately." With that cryptic addition, he walks away, leaving me standing by the elevator. On my way out of the building, I notice something odd. Everyone seems to be avoiding looking out the windows, despite it being a clear, sunny day. The blinds in every office are drawn. At the security desk, I pause. "Nice day out there," I comment to the guard. He nods without enthusiasm. "Guess so. Hasn't been much sun lately." But as I exit the building, the sun is blinding, a perfectly normal day in Houston. I shield my eyes and look back at the JSC building. Every window is covered, either with blinds or what looks like specialized film. In the parking lot, I spot Webb getting into the same blue pickup truck I saw at the motel last night. As he drives past, he doesn't acknowledge me, but I notice something on the passenger seat beside him. What looks like an old-style astronaut helmet, the kind used in the Apollo missions. My phone buzzes with a text as I reach my rental car. "Check the trunk of your car." Despite every horror movie instinct telling me not to, I pop the trunk. Inside is a cardboard box containing what looks like specialized sunglasses with thick, dark lenses, and a note. "For viewing lunar events safely, don't look directly at it otherwise. BW." I put the sunglasses in my bag alongside the tapes and my father's device. Whatever happened on the moon in 1972, it's clear the repercussions are still being felt. And somehow, I've been pulled into the gravity of something much bigger than a lost astronaut. The compass device in my pocket has gone cold, the needle now pointing steadily toward Clear Lake Observatory. I check my watch. 7 hours until my meeting with Webb. 7 hours to listen to the remaining tapes and prepare myself for whatever revelations await under the watchful gaze of the moon. The Clear Lake Observatory sits on a small hill overlooking the water, isolated from the surrounding suburbs by a stretch of undeveloped land. It's a modest facility, primarily used by the local astronomy club and occasionally by NASA for public outreach events. Tonight, it's dark, with only a single light visible through the dome's narrow windows. I park at the base of the hill and walk up the winding path, my flashlight beam bouncing across overgrown grass. The compass device in my pocket grows warmer with each step, the needle now spinning lazily as if confused about its target. The main entrance is locked, but a side door stands slightly ajar. I slip inside, finding myself in a small anteroom filled with outdated educational displays about the solar system. "You came?" Webb's voice emerges from the shadows near the stairs leading up to the observation deck. He steps forward, looking older and more tired than he did at NASA. "I wasn't sure you would." "I want answers," I say simply. He nods, gesturing for me to follow him upstairs. The observatory dome is open to the night sky, the telescope aimed at the waxing gibbous moon hanging low on the horizon. Webb moves to a control panel and presses a series of buttons. The dome rotates slightly, and the telescope adjusts its position. "Put these on," he says, handing me a pair of glasses identical to the ones I found in my trunk. I comply, and the world takes on a strange bluish tint. "Your father was a good man," Webb says, his back to me as he fiddles with the telescope. "One of the best astronauts in the program. That's why they chose him for Apollo 18. They needed someone who could handle unexpected situations." "What happened to him?" I ask, the question that's haunted me my entire life. Webb sighs, turning to face me. "The official record says Apollo 18 was cancelled. The truth is it launched on August 16, 1972, under complete media blackout. Your father, along with Michael Collins and Edward Bishop, spent 3 days in lunar orbit before landing near Capernacus Crater. Their mission was to investigate the anomaly, the arch that had appeared there. The structure wasn't built by Russians, was it?" Webb's laugh is hollow. "No, it wasn't built by anyone from Earth. The arch is what we call a threshold, a doorway between here and somewhere else. We don't know who built it or when. It just appeared one day, as if it had always been there." He gestures for me to look through the telescope. Through the specialized lenses, the lunar surface appears different. There's a faint web-like pattern of lines connecting various craters, barely visible, but definitely there. "What am I looking at?" I ask, pulling back from the eyepiece. "The network," Webb says quietly. "It's always been there, but we can only see it with specialized equipment. The moon isn't just a satellite, Mr. Reed. It's a waypoint, a junction in a vast interstellar transit system. And the arch your father found is one of its doors." My mouth goes dry. "A door to where?" Webb's expression darkens. "We don't know exactly, but the few images we received before losing contact showed a landscape that doesn't match any known planetary surface in our solar system. And there were structures there, artificial structures." He pulls an old photograph from his pocket and hands it to me. It shows 3 astronauts in Apollo-era spacesuits standing near the Black Arch. One of them, my father, I realize with a jolt, is half turned toward the camera, pointing at something within the arch's frame. Through the opening, instead of the lunar landscape continuing, there's what appears to be a twilight sky above a terrain of sharp, crystalline formations. "Your father and Bishop went through," Webb continues, his voice flat. "Collins stayed with the lunar module as planned. They were supposed to take samples, record observations, and return within 1 hour. Bishop came back after 45 minutes, alone, disoriented. His suit was covered in a gray, oily substance that we've never been able to identify. And he was changed." "Changed how?" I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know the answer. Webb hesitates. "Mentally, physically. His DNA showed subtle alterations, and he kept talking about the others and how they're coming through. 3 days after returning to Earth, he vanished from the secure facility where we were keeping him. We found his clothes, his wedding ring, his fillings, everything that wasn't originally part of him, in a perfect circle on his bed, but Bishop himself was gone. And my father?" Webb won't meet my eyes. "We never found him." The last transmission we received was garbled. Something about reflections and shadows, then nothing. The arch itself disappeared from our monitoring equipment about 6 months later. We thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't, I say, understanding dawning. No, it wasn't. Over the years we've detected similar anomalies, temporary thresholds appearing all over the lunar surface. And with each one, strange occurrences on Earth, people reporting doppelgangers, electronic equipment behaving erratically, and the rules keep expanding as we learn more about what we're dealing with. Webb moves to a small safe hidden behind a star chart on the wall. He enters a combination and removes a thick folder. These are all the records we have on Apollo 18 and the subsequent investigations. Lunar. Command was officially disbanded in 1985, but a few of us have kept monitoring the situation. Your father's device, the compass, was one of our most valuable tools. It doesn't point north. It points to active thresholds. He hands me the folder. There's something else you should know. The anomalies are increasing in frequency and duration. And they're not just on the moon anymore. We've detected them on Earth. Small, temporary thresholds opening in remote locations. And sometimes, things come through. As if on cue, the compass in my pocket begins to spin rapidly, growing hot enough that I have to pull it out. The needle whirls like a propeller before suddenly stopping, pointing directly at the open dome above us. Webb follows my gaze upward, his face draining of color. "That's not possible," he whispers. "The next threshold event isn't predicted for 3 days, but the evidence is right above us." Through the specialized glasses, I can see it. A distortion in the air between us and the moon, like heat waves, but more structured, more deliberate, the same phenomenon my father described seeing inside the arch. "We need to leave," Webb says urgently, gathering his papers. "Now, before it fully forms." But I'm transfixed by the sight. Within the distortion, shapes are moving. Elongated, fluid forms that seem to fold in on themselves in impossible ways. And among them, a figure in what looks like an Apollo-era spacesuit, helmet obscuring its face. "Dad?" I whisper, taking an involuntary step forward. Webb grabs my arm. "That's not your father," he hisses. "Remember Rule 6, if you see another crew member when all personnel are accounted for, do not acknowledge them." But it's too late. The figure has seen me. It raises a gloved hand in the same slow wave I saw in the motel parking lot. The distortion ripples, expanding outward. The temperature in the observatory drops dramatically, my breath fogging in the suddenly frigid air. The lights flicker, and the electronic equipment around us, the telescope motors, the computer terminals, even our phones, all activate simultaneously, screens glowing with strange symbols that look like no language I've ever seen. "Rule 8, Webb says, his voice tight with fear. "If electronic equipment activates without power, destroy it immediately." He pulls a hammer from a drawer and begins smashing the nearest terminal. I follow his lead, using a fire extinguisher to disable the telescope controls. But our phones continue to glow, the screens now showing what looks like a countdown. Outside, car alarms begin to wail, dogs bark frantically in the distance, and above us, the distortion has grown large enough to encompass the entire dome opening. The figure in the spacesuit is closer now, floating just above the edge of the dome. I can see details I missed before. The Apollo 18 patch on its arm, the name Reed stenciled above the breast pocket. But something's wrong with its movements. They're too fluid, too smooth for someone in a bulky spacesuit. And where its face should be visible through the helmet visor, there's only darkness, punctuated by what look like stars. Webb sees it too. "That's not human," he says, backing toward the stairs. "Not anymore." The figure reaches toward the edge of the dome, its gloved hand elongating impossibly as it stretches downward. Where its fingers touch the metal, frost forms instantly. The structure groans as metal contracts in the sudden cold. "The glasses!" Webb shouts over the cacophony of alarms. "Don't take them off no matter what!" Too late, I realize he's no longer wearing his. His eyes are fixed on the moon, now directly visible through the distortion. "It's beautiful," he whispers, his breath crystallizing in the air. "I can see the network. I can see everything." Blood begins to trickle from his nose, his ears, the corners of his eyes. Still, he smiles. "They're coming through. All of them. And we're going back." I grab his arm, trying to pull him toward the stairs, but he shakes me off with surprising strength. "Your father understood at the end. He saw what they really are. What we really are." His skin has taken on a grayish pallor, and his movements become jerky, unnatural. "Reflections, Ethan. We're all just reflections." The figure at the dome's edge has been joined by others, dozens of them, all in spacesuits, all with that same star-filled darkness where their faces should be. They float silently above, us watching, waiting. Webb takes a step toward them, arms outstretched in welcome. I run, down the stairs, through the anteroom, out into the night. Behind me, the observatory is engulfed in that strange distortion, the air around it rippling like water. My car won't start, the electrical system dead despite a new battery. I abandon it, running down the hill toward the road, the compass clutched in my hand. Its needle spins uselessly now, as if there are thresholds opening everywhere. I don't stop running until I reach a gas station 2 miles away. The attendant looks at me strangely as I burst in, wild-eyed and gasping for breath. On the TV behind the counter, a news anchor is reporting on an unusual aurora event, visible across the southern United States. Amateur footage shows ribbons of light dancing across the sky, not the typical green of normal auroras, but a deep, shifting purple. I use the payphone to call a cab, then wait outside, keeping my back to the moon. When I finally reach my motel room, I lock the door, draw the curtains, and sit on the bed surrounded by my father's tapes, Webb's folder, and the compass that now seems to be malfunctioning completely, its needle spinning one moment, completely still the next. I don't know what happened to Webb. The news the next morning reports a fire at the Clear Lake Observatory, attributed to an electrical malfunction. No bodies were found. The strange aurora has been explained away as a rare atmospheric phenomenon, business as usual. But I know what I saw, and I know the rules now, all 8 of them, plus the new ones I've added based on my own experience. Rule 9, if the compass needle spins continuously, run. Don't look back. Rule 10, if someone looks at the moon without protection between midnight and 3 a.m., they're already lost. I'm leaving Houston today, taking everything with me, the tapes, the folder, the compass, the specialized glasses. I don't know where I'm going yet, only that I need to keep moving. Because last night, as I finally drifted into an exhausted sleep, my phone chimed with one final text message from an unknown number. "We see you, Ethan. We've always seen you. Look up." I didn't. I won't. But I know they're watching, not just from the moon, but from every reflective surface, every shadow that doesn't quite match its source. The thresholds are opening more frequently now. The network is activating. And whatever came through that first door my father found, whatever wears his face and speaks with his voice, it's looking for me. So I keep moving, I keep the rules, and I never ever look at the moon between midnight and 3 a.m. Because some doors once opened can never truly be closed again.